Hey, what's up? This is Logan Mize, and you are listening to TNCRadio.live.
I'm Shelley Johnson with Kathy Tuccaro. You can hear us Tuesdays on TNCRadio.live at 8 p.m. Eastern on Women Road Warriors. And don't miss Steve Summers' Overnight Drive right here on TNCRadio.live. Weeknights, midnight to 5 a.m. Eastern. Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hello and welcome TNC Radio.live. This is Keep On Talkin' Live. And here's your host, Tom Kirk.
Hey, thank you very much, Tom. We'd like to welcome you all here to the Counter of Knowledge this evening, where we're going to be discussing winter driving and a few other related topics. Each week we gather around here and have some conversations like we used to back in the truck stops and back in the days before the pandemic, where drivers could sit around, share stories, share knowledge, and really have kind of an overall good time. And I know myself and a bunch of other drivers miss that camaraderie we had. So each week we get together and kind of do that. If you'd like to join in the conversation tonight, you can. If you're listening in on that TNCRadio.live app, you've got that call us button right down there on the bottom. Push that, bring it up, press TNC, and the radio, and it'll bring you right to us. Makes it real easy if you're there on the road. Not a lot of messing around. Or you can dial in at 706-862-8620. That's 706-TNC-TNC0 to keep it nice and easy for you. The reason why I came up with this topic tonight, winter driving and when to shut down, I was listening to a driver talking earlier this week to somebody else, and they were asked a question, hey, when should you shut down, or when do you shut down for bad weather? And the driver was saying, when you have to start slowing down significantly, or particularly when your truck starts breaking traction or getting a little squirrely, that's the time you need to shut down or want to shut down. And when I heard that, I just kind of started staring almost in disbelief and biting my tongue, because in my opinion, if you wait till the point where you're starting to slip and slide a little bit or your truck's breaking traction, you've waited too long. Number one, you're already in the middle of a bad situation. But number two, a wise old driver once told me, when you see that first snowflake fall, there's lots of parking at the truck stops. By the time that second or third snowflakes falls and you get to the next exit, there's fewer and fewer truck stops. By the time you get to that third truck stop, it's usually going to be full, and now you're going to find yourself in a blizzard or a bad snowstorm. So, yeah, you probably should have stopped at least a half an hour to an hour earlier so you don't get into a pickle. And we were seeing some of that last winter, particularly in Wyoming, where drivers would be trying to push it to get to a location, and they'd end up getting stuck at service plazas or these fairgrounds with little to no services. So this is kind of really a bit of an issue, or can be a bit of an issue here for drivers. When should you shut down? And we've got some callers here that are joining us tonight. We've got some of our originals. We've got Jerry Fritz and Bruce Richards. How are you doing tonight, guys?
Doing good.
Okay. Glad to hear that. So, Bruce, let's start with you tonight. What are your thoughts? When is it you shut down?
Okay. I was raised in the Northeast, so I'm familiar with driving in bad weather. So my comfort zone is a little bit better than some. But when, like they said, once the traffic starts on down and you don't see it picking up, speed limit's 55, say 65, and you're down to 40, it's time to find a place to park. Because all the cars on the road, they're going to keep pushing it. And you got these people out here that's got four-wheel drive and all-wheel traction cars, and they think, oh, I got no problems. Got no problems till they hit at the ice. Then it's like, nah, it don't work so much. So usually when it starts to slow down with the snow. Now, you also watch your mirrors because there is what we call frozen fog.
Yep.
And it's frozen fog, usually ice on the road. Pay attention to your tires. You know, if you got spray coming off your tires, you're pretty good, but you need more caution. Because, yeah, the roads are still wet, but when you get to the bridges, they may not be wet.
Exactly.
You gotta be careful.
And one more thing to watch out for, Bruce. And I don't know, and I'm sure, I don't know if he's going to mention this, but if you've got those CB antennas that are mounted near the top of the truck, right on the side of it, and all of a sudden you're listening and you realize that you're inside of a giant drum. That means the ice is built up on those CB antennas, and it's probably a really good time to pull over at the next truck stop you find.
Yeah. I don't have antennas on mine anymore. That's why I watch the back of my mirrors.
Yep.
And yeah, it's like tonight, okay? I'm in Virginia. I'm headed to North Canton, Ohio. I saw signs on 64. Freezing rain, travel advisory, not recommended on 85 or 81. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of where I'm going. But I'll be crossing over 81. I won't be getting on 81, but I'll be in that area. So, yeah, I got to watch out going up that way.
Exactly. And actually, when you said the route you were running tonight, I pulled up the weather map for the country right now. And if you're basically down in the New Orleans area, a little bit west of that, you've got some severe thunderstorms tonight running up that way, up towards the Montgomery-ish area, a little bit west of Memphis, Birmingham. And then you've got some more severe, looks like rainstorms up towards in between Springfield and Indianapolis, up towards Davenport, Iowa, those areas. And there's, rain all over that whole area. Basically, from border to border, you've got some degree of precipitation tonight from New Orleans, pretty much all the way straight up through Madison, Wisconsin, right up there to the Canadian border, the Great Lakes and on up into Canada. And then you've got some stuff heading out, into the Carolinas, Virginia, West Virginia. So this is a great example of, weather. Depending on where you're at, it could be anywhere from rain to snow to freezing rain this time of year, and you never know what it's going to be. We just got joined by Nesta. And before I bring you on, Jerry, I'm going to be nice and bring the young lady in. Hey, Nesta, we were talking a little bit about winter driving and when it is you should shut down. And earlier this week, I heard a driver basically saying, hey, when I shut down is when, the truck starts getting a little squirrely and I start losing traction and it just doesn't feel right. And in my opinion, and I think that of Bruce, that's probably waiting a little bit too long. What are some of your thoughts about winter driving and when is it that you try to shut down?
If I start seeing other trucks all tangled up together, I'm shutting down. That is kind of when I decide it's time to stop. A lot of times I'll keep going till I start seeing other trucks starting to have wrecks. But if it's solid ice, I'm not riding on it.
No, and you shouldn't. I mean, one of the sayings that I have, and I don't know if I coined this saying or if I picked it up from somebody over the years, you can't drive on ice, you aim.
No, I
Yep.
have literally. I used to drive on snow a lot, and I always thought I could handle anything. I thought I was just real good at it. I was always told you're not going to control it once you lose it on the ice, and I found that to be very true several years ago. And so once the trailer started sliding, I could do nothing with it.
Well, we got a break that's coming up, Nesta, and I think we're going to leave that as a cliffhanger, or in this case, shall we say, a sliding trailer hanger. And we're going to come back and find out more about that story, ask Jerry some of his thoughts, and maybe pick into some other things about winter driving and when you should shut down, the value of CBs and things like that. So we'll be back with more here in a moment, but if you want to join in, we still got room for you, 706-862-8620. We'll be back right after this on TNCRadio.live. Keep your ears on.
Our grocery stores are stocked. Our packages arrive in just a few short days. No matter the day or season, we can thank America's truck drivers for the efficient delivery of over 10 billion tons of goods a year that we rely on. On this National Truck Driver Appreciation Week, we offer a big thank you to professional truck drivers for hauling the everyday goods that meet our daily needs. We thank a trucker. Brought to you by Trucking Moves America Forward at truckingmovesamerica.com. Follow us on social media at Trucking FWD.
This info blog on TNCRadio.live is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. Mental health resources for truck drivers. Truck drivers are the backbone of America. They're the unsung heroes. Nearly every good consumed in the United States has been transported in a truck. Because of how challenging truck driving is, truck drivers often portray the image of being tough. Mental health is not a discussion that many truckers will have among each other. The truth is, truck drivers are human. They have their emotional and mental struggles just like every other working American. The only difference is that truck drivers face unique factors that put them more at risk for depression and other serious mental health issues. According to the Transport Workers Union, 1 in 5 truck drivers has experienced mental health issues. Depression and anxiety are the top mental issues that truck drivers face. Mental health resources for truck drivers. With truck drivers spending more time on the road than at home, it can be difficult to get help for their mental health struggles. Now, thanks to modern-day technology, truck drivers can get help right from their smartphones. Esper. Esper is a national behavioral health company with a mission to help people and organizations reach their full potential. Esper offers a continuum of behavioral health care from acute to chronic health conditions to leadership development, including Fit to Pass, a coaching program to assist professional drivers in maintaining good health and pass their DOT recertification physical exams. BetterHelp. BetterHelp is the world's largest e-counseling platform. They have access to licensed, trained, experienced, and accredited psychologists, marriage and family therapists, clinical social workers, and board-licensed professional counselors. To get starters, take a quick questionnaire and BetterHelp will match you with a therapist that's right for you. Mutts for Trucks. Mutts for Trucks is an organization that helps truck drivers find the perfect four-legged friend for the road. Their mission is to bring more good to a community that brings so much good to us. It's been proven that owning a dog can drastically decrease isolation, depression, and cardiovascular disease. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is a national network of local crisis centers that provides free and confidential emotional support to people in suicidal crisis or emotional distress 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Their number is 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-8255. If you feel that you need help for your mental health struggles while on the road, we also recommend reaching out to your carrier and seeing what options they may have available for you. For more information on mental health, go to the blog section at The Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net.
Do you feel like you're facing more than just the physical road ahead of you? Are you wondering if there's more to life? Join Ron Fraser, the host of Truckers Life Radio, every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, where he discusses the spiritual side of a driver's life. On the show, he goes through the spiritual and moral questions drivers face on a daily basis, helping you, the driver, as you travel life's highway.
Welcome back in TNC Radio.live. This is Keep On Talking with your host, Tom Kurt.
Hey, thank you very much, everybody. We're here on Keep On Talking live tonight, where the conversation's hot, the coffee's not, and that apple pie sure tastes awfully good after a long day of driving. We hope you join in us the conversation tonight at 706-862-8620. We still have room for you. We've been joined by Terry here, and we'll be getting to her in a little bit. But Nesta, before the break, you started to tell a story where you had an experience with the trailer kind of slipping and sliding a little bit. Why don't you tell us there what happened, and we're going to move on to Jerry.
Oh, yeah, I was coming up 81 in Tennessee, and the further I got, the worse the ice was getting. I had already determined the first rest area I came to, I was going to pull over. The trailer started sliding. Nothing I could do would get it back. I just slid worse, and the guy behind me hit me. And we tied up the interstate for a good 2 hours there. I used to think I could go be an ice road trucker, but my daughter let me know that kind of shot that out the window there. I guess it did.
Yeah, I can see where it has, and having driven on some of that snowpack on the New York State Thruway and things like that a couple times in my driving career, with as rough as those roads are, you know what? I have a deep respect for Lisa and I can see their faces right now, Alex and Carrie and brother. I'm going to kick myself, but the whole gang there. I have so much respect for them, because this is something they do. I mean, driving over the roads that we do is rough enough and beats on the body enough. When you start driving over that snowpack, even on a regular road, it's not what I would call fun, and it's real rough. And think they do that for hours and hours at a time. I have a lot of respect for them for that. But hey, let's go to you, Jerry. You've been waiting here for a little bit. What are some of your thoughts? When is it that you shut down, or when is it you think it's a good time for the average driver to be shutting down? You know, is it when the truck starts getting squirrely? Is it too late, or should you have stopped a little bit sooner?
You know, I don't see a firm rule there. My experience over the years has been every load have loads that run well in snow, and then there's some snow and conditions you can run in fairly well. So I don't have that. And years ago, probably where Bruce and I even started, we didn't have all these weather forecasts we have like now. So if you say, well, the first snowflake, you're going to win somewhere. And then we had day cabs, only had one seat in them. So you don't know that it's just a snow squall. Like coming across the New York Thruway, I used to run into Buffalo 3 times a week. Well, there's weather belts. There's 5 weather belts across New York State. So if you're fighting your way through one, maybe there'll be snow that night, maybe not. And about 90% of my drive in the first 20 years on the road was like Michigan East, across New York State, New England, and all that. And like I say, different loads. I remember very well, had a brand new tractor. Now, this is all slip seat operation. You don't get the same. Sometimes you just change trucks a couple times a day. Going into Newburgh, New York, right there by the Stewart Airport, by the way. And I'm on a turn. I'm going to return to Milton that night. Had one of the brand new Internationals, brand new through-off trailer. Traffic is in a way. There's probably, the typical New York snowstorm up there. Probably about 6 inches or so of snow. Been plowed a little bit. The traffic is running way too slow. That can be a danger, too. And I can remember getting over Port George Hill. I said, I'm getting the hell out of this. This is an accident looking to happen. You can feel it. So I moved out the left lane. This truck is handling great. Moved my way on, got in front of the line. There's a guy up there, the cab over Mac. He starts cussing me out, this, that, and the other thing. Well, he might have had a bad riding load. So I told him, hey, pal, this thing is handling good. I could stop it when I want, move when I want. But watch this. I get into the Newburgh terminal, get out of the same international, and then another brand new international conventionals going west with another brand new Fruhoff trailer. I fought that thing for the next 180 miles back to the terminal. Could hardly keep it on the road. So, and I've seen this even over the years. Just the way a load is riding can make a big difference. Now, with the new weather forecasting and everything we have, my sister, ex-driver, so in the wintertime, she and my brother-in-law would begin to really track the weather for me. So one of the last bad storms, I knew I was heading right into it on Interstate 80. So she's watching the weather coming across. She's big brother. I wouldn't go past Ogallala.
Yep.
Hey, see, now I got a sleeper. I can park where I want. So I took it off, and it wasn't an hour after I pulled into the TA there at Ogallala, they closed the road. An hour or so later, storm hit in real bad. So I don't know. And then there's another thing.
Jerry, we'll come back to you here in a second. I want to give Terry a chance here since she just joined us here a little bit. Hey, Jerry, I know you've been up in Minnesota and the Dakotas and a lot of those places with a lot of your driving. What are some of your experiences? Because I also know you've done some driver training as well. You know, what is it that the rules of thumb you kind of use? What rules of thumb do you maybe give new drivers as to when they should shut down? You know, is it you wait till things start getting a little squirrely, or do you try to, look for certain things and shut down before you get to that point?
It's kind of crazy. The longer we drive, the more crazy off-the-wall experiences we have. And one of the things that I learned my very first winter driving alone, I hit a massive blizzard on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. I was 18 years old back in 1987. Yes, I'm that old. And I was looking for a place to stop, but all the service plazas were lined up out the road. It was that bad. And this guy went by me and just blew my doors off, and on the CB started talking trash. Well, 10 miles later, he was in the ditch because I was slow and he wasn't. Well, that really, I learned a lot from that. And I try to carry that over to my students. And I was run off the road in a storm here on Highway 2 in North Dakota about 5 years ago. And I'm not going to lie to you, it scared the dickens out of me. First time I'd ever been in the ditch. Thank goodness, no damage. But, learning from that also helped me with students. Since then, I got real scared. The rest of that winter and my next winter, I was a scared driver. I was exactly what Jerry said. I would go so slow that I was a danger. And this is after 30 years of driving. But it scared me so bad, Tom, that I became a danger. So I have learned now to teach students, there is a too slow. If you are that scared, stop, because that's when something's going to happen.
Yep.
Follow your instincts. Do not judge what you do based on other drivers. Like when I was 18 and that driver was talking trash because he blew our doors off. He went by everybody, and he was in the ditch hauling for help down the road. Don't think that because some other idiots out there doing 60 on a sheet of black ice that you can do that. You need to drive your truck and not let your environment drive it as far as other drivers. And that is so crucial. You have a gut instinct for a reason, and you have to have a healthy respect for your vehicle. And I almost say it's a healthy fear. You have to have a respectful fear of what that 80,000-pound missile can do going down the road dry, far from on ice. And if you don't follow your gut, if you try to keep up with the crowd, you're asking for trouble. It's that simple. And I'm just grateful that I got over that fear, because I was a danger. I'm lucky that nothing happened that following winter because I was so panicked, because of what that truck did to me. So it's just a matter of just driving your truck and not basing what you do on other drivers. Just because they're going faster, it doesn't mean that you should. If you're not comfortable, you need to slow down or stop.
And that's so true, Terry. And, there's a lot of different directions we can go with that, but we're coming up on a break. But one of the best pieces of advice that I ever got, and you kind of just said it here from a safety director, was don't let somebody else drive your truck. When you start listening to other drivers, let them pressure into a situation. Basically, what you did is you just handed them the keys, and you're now sitting behind the steering wheel going wee, as you slide off the road.
You handed them your driving record.
Exactly. Yeah. And you gave them control of your truck. So you need to maintain control of your truck. But one of the things we're going to talk about when we come back is CB radios, their value in bad weather. Do we still think they're valuable, or maybe some of the other tools we've mentioned a little bit tonight, like weather radars, driving apps, etc., have sort of replaced some of that? We're going to be back more right after this break. So stay tuned and keep your ears on. We'll be back with more.
Join Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time for Women Road Warriors on your driver navigation station, tncradio.live.
Hi, I'm Dr. Christopher Cortman, and now for the Mental Health Minute. Is there a senior in your life that you really respect, admire, appreciate, love? Is there a grandparent, a mentor, an aunt or uncle, somebody really special to you, still alive, still kicking, and just really someone who's made a difference in your life? I think we all have someone like that. I was watching a Hollywood program, and they had this Lifetime Achievement Award. Very moving that they brought up a Hollywood star who had a 50, 60-year career of success and honored them for what they had accomplished. It gave me an idea. What if we did that same sort of thing with someone that we love, that we admired, a grandparent who's always been there? And why wait until they're gone? Why don't we celebrate that? Call everybody who knows them and throw a big part of your celebration called the Lifetime Achievement Award for somebody who's made our lives so much better just by being there. It not only would bring joy to them, but it'll be one of the happiest days of your life as well.
I'm Shelley Johnson with Kathy Tuccaro. You can hear us Tuesdays on tncradio.live at 8 p.m. Eastern on Women Road Warriors. And don't miss Steve Summers' Overnight Drive right here on tncradio.live, weeknights midnight to 5 a.m. Eastern. Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Welcome back in tncradio.live. This is Keep On Talking Live, and your host, Tom Kirk.
Hey, thank you very much, Tom. And we want to welcome you to the Counter of Knowledge, where we share stories, tips, tricks, and things that we've learned over the years of the road, as well as our thoughts and opinions, and try and have some fun while doing it. Thank you for joining us tonight. We still have some room for you at 706-862-8620 if you'd like to join in on that conversation tonight. We've got Granny with us, we've got Nesta, we've got Bruce, and we've got Jerry, and we're just sharing some stories and experience here over the road. One of the things that Terry brought up is one of the things that will sometimes happen to drivers, particularly a few years ago, and maybe not quite as much now, is you get the people on the CB radios saying, "Oh, what are you doing? You're going so slow. You're causing problems," and all this other stuff. And, they're literally blowing by doing, speed limit or maybe 10 miles an hour over. And everybody else is maybe doing, let's say 10, or so miles an hour under the speed limit. And they're saying, if you're that scared, you need to get off the road. And I don't remember if you guys remember a few years ago, there was that big pile up out there. I think it was Wyoming or Nebraska, one of those two states. And everybody was talking about how, well, if there was a CB radio, this huge 100-car pileup could have been prevented. And then the story started coming out. There was CB radios being used, and everybody was warning the drivers to slow down. And this group of 5 or 6 trucks that made this huge accident worse were saying, oh, let the big boys handle it. If you can't handle it, you need to get off the road and all this other stuff. And they went and made a bad situation a lot worse because they were going so fast they couldn't stop. Fortunately, no one was killed or seriously hurt in that accident. But it does, bring that point out, is make sure you know that your abilities, the abilities of your truck, the load, the weather, and make sure you're driving for the conditions. But it does show, while a CB can have a value, it's only as good as the person who's utilizing it on both sides. So let's okay, let's go with you, Terry. What are your thoughts?
Okay, when that happened,
my thoughts.
Well, let's go with Terry first, and we'll come to you, Jerry.
Okay.
Thank you. When that happened, Tom, I was actually stuck in that same storm cell at Walcott, Iowa, and we got stranded for a bunch of us got stranded for a couple of days. When I was heading westbound, I am one that utilizes a CB. Absolutely, I preach it. You don't have to have it on all the time. You don't have to talk on it, but you need to have one for safety. I buy one for every one of my students. And I had it on and heard about this pileup just past the Walcott I-80 truck stop. And there was 100+ vehicles. It ended up to be, I don't know at the time how many. And I was able to exit at the truck stop and find a place to park. But we were there, I was there for like 2 days. And a state patrol came inside the building when me and several other drivers, we were in there playing poker and cards, hanging out. And one of the things the state patrol said to us, he was like, if more trucks had CBs on or had them in their truck, they would not be stranded out on the road for 2 days with me having to bring them food and water. And that just, it really hits home to my point that, for safety, I think every truck should be mandatory to have a CB. You listen ahead of time, you won't get stuck on the road, you can avoid getting involved in that accident, and you can safely find a place to get off and park where there's food, facilities, you can be safer. For drivers to just hammer on down the road in that type of weather and not have anything to hear minute by minute what's happening is ridiculous. Yes, we have apps like you had mentioned, absolutely, weather apps, whatnot. But when you're driving in a blizzard, should you be looking at that app? No. You should be listening to your CB. And I'm very old school, and I am very adamant, and I will never change my mind about a CB should be absolutely mandatory in every commercial vehicle.
And while I agree with you on a few things, there's some issues I want to bring up. But before we do that, Jerry, I know you had some things you wanted to say. I'd also like to welcome Catwoman to the show. But Jerry, what are some of your thoughts on CBs and the importance in bad weather?
By all means, CB.
Amen.
For CB, we had a light system, which helped us quite a bit. But see, we're going to go back to another generation. Something's happened in the past 20 years or so. Another generation back, we all really knew how to work with each other. Even before CBs, I know what Bruce is going to do. He knew what the truck ahead of him was going to do, so on and so forth. We had very good light signals. We didn't talk to each other. But what really convinced me on the loss of CB, and that started, 15 years ago or so. In fact, management didn't want it anymore because they didn't want the new drivers talking with the old drivers. Because the old drivers would tell new drivers how bad they have it. So management and their training programs and their orientations began to discourage CB. How do I know that? That's when I put my wife through school. She couldn't believe what she... Anyway, Wagon Hound Road, Interstate 80, eastbound, and it's a typical 6 or 8 inch snowstorm, Wyoming. Visibility good. Wind wasn't even that bad. I'm running about 45 miles an hour. I could see westbound traffic moving slow. We're all moving decent, but they could see me. They could see all the way across the highway. Just east of Wagon Hound Road, I come around the corner. Here's a reefer jackknifed in the road, completely blocked. Tractor down in the median strip. Trailer, it's kind of interesting to see, was way up in the air. I go, and I know I can't get stopped. I don't have the distance. So I took a gamble that I could get around behind him, and I lucked out. And I could still see westbound traffic. Another day, another time, 2 or 3 miles at least before I'd have gotten there. It'd have been all over CB. They'd have been going eastbound, look out. Mile marker so-and-so. And I'd have known about it.
Yep. And that's very true. And I have a story kind of similar. This was high winds rather than the snow and the ice we've been talking about, but going up 390 towards Rochester there out of the Bath, Canona, New York area, and coming around the corner, and it was right around exit 2, exit 3. And all of a sudden, everybody on the CB started yelling, slow down, hit the exit. And as I'm coming around, everybody's slowing down, trying to hit the exit. And a tractor trailer was evidently real light and had got blown by the wind. And if he had tried to park this truck just before the bridge, intentionally, he couldn't have done it. He was like perfectly square across the road. I think his ICC bumper was lined up perfect with the guardrail, and he was basically stuck there. And everybody was hitting that ramp, going down it. And, you know, I had been driving at that point for maybe a month or two, and I went just up the road there to exit 5 to the TA, and I shut down for the rest of the day and part of the next day because that like Terry said, scared me a little bit. And I think there's a difference between fear and being scared. Fear, I think, can be healthy sometimes because it's that self-preservation that says, hey, I need to get off the road. Scared is when you kind of sit in the truck and you're trying to get the courage and you're shaking or whatever it is, because you're so afraid, or that fear has gotten to the point where it's controlling you rather than helping to preserve yourself. And I think that's a big thing. One point that I want to bring up, both of you said something about the CBs, and I think they have a tool, but I also noticed a few years ago, and Bruce, I want to see if you agree with me on this one, because I know some of the trucks you've driven. I've noticed as these manufacturers are doing these integrated antennas and all this other stuff, and I'm not going to call out any companies that make trucks that haul freight and maybe rhyme with a liner, but with these integrated antennas they're doing, I've noticed it seems like if you're lucky some days to be receive a mile and a half from you, transmit a half a mile to a mile. So unless you're able to install an exterior antenna of some kind on your truck, I've kind of discovered where CB radios in some of these newer trucks are almost completely worthless. I mean, you're almost better off throwing a tin can with a string out of the road, hoping somebody on the other side can catch it and give you the information. Because by the time you hear them and figure out what, start talking back and forth, you're out of each other's range. Has anyone else noticed that with these newer trucks? It seems like the antennas that they're putting in there are really more for show than anything else.
Yep, I'll agree.
They're not grounded well.
I mean, exactly. Now, I happen to drive one. I don't have an external. I got lucky. This one does work great for me. Works good. Do I want to get out a little bit further? Well, yeah. But where I'm going and what I'm doing and where I run, it's fine for me.
Hey, guys, I got to interrupt this because I just realized Flo's flashing some lights at me saying we got a break coming up. So we're going to be back with more right after this. We'll check in with Catwoman. We're going to be talking more about winter weather and some of our driving tips. Stay tuned. Keep your ears on. We'll be right on back.
Ready for a music break? Did you know that you can use the TNCRadio.live app to hear the best in traditional country? Traditional country. You know, the good stuff from the 50s and 60s and on. Traditional country is more than a time period. It's a style and approach to music that we cherish. We have an incredible collection of songs that define country music and also sprinkle in some Western music, you know, cowboy music, bluegrass, Americana, and country gospel. Our TRUSA president and country Western music icon, Rex Allen Jr., also hosts an hour of music and memories. At TRUSA, we have a heart for the road and the heritage of country music. Wherever you roam, we hope you'll take us with you. Enjoy the ride on Truckers Radio USA. To listen to TRUSA Radio on the TNCRadio.live app, just click on the music button and then TRUSA.
This blog on TNCRadio.live is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. Common mental health issues truck drivers face. Every day the roads are full of heavy-duty trucks. Trucks are responsible for nearly 80% of America's freight. Being a truck driver is not an easy job, and it's not for everyone. Trucking can be hard on an individual, both physically and mentally. Suffering from mental health can put truck drivers in a dangerous situation. To safely operate a heavy-duty vehicle, drivers need to be physically and mentally healthy. Here are 4 common mental health issues that truck drivers face. Why mental health issues are common in truck drivers. Truck driving is a demanding job and can be very stressful at times. A stressful work environment leads to anxiety and depression. In addition to a stressful work environment, truck drivers spend a lot of time alone in their truck. Constantly being alone can affect one's mental health. Although many truck drivers suffer from mental health issues, some are afraid to get help because they fear losing their job. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, that's FMCSA, requires drivers to be in good health before receiving or renewing a commercial driver's license. The trucking industry is predominantly male. A study by RAHM states that men are less likely to get treatment for their mental health than women. It's important for drivers to take care of their mental health as much as their physical health. Common mental health issues in truck drivers. Depression. Depression is an illness that affects you mentally, physically, and emotionally. It's very common in the trucking industry. Being alone and away from friends and family contributes to depression. It's important to know the difference between feeling down and having depression. If you feel that you're experiencing depression, seek out help. Depression is serious and can affect your ability to operate your truck. Anxiety. Because of how stressful trucking can be, anxiety is very common for drivers. This is especially true for new drivers. Many experienced drivers have reported having anxiety and panic attacks while on the road. It's important to know the difference between new driver anxiety and generalized anxiety. If you're often experiencing anxiety while working, take the necessary steps to get help. Chronic sleep disturbances. A good night's rest is crucial to truck drivers. Not having enough sleep can make it dangerous to operate a heavy-duty vehicle. Because of a truck driver's living and work situation, good sleep can be difficult. A NCBI study reports that 20 to 28.6% of truck drivers have an unspecified sleep disorder, and 27.5% of truck drivers are diagnosed with insomnia. Sleep is extremely important for your mental and physical health. If you're experiencing problems sleeping while trucking, consider seeking professional help. Loneliness. Truck drivers spend many days and weeks isolated in their truck. According to Business Insider, nearly a third of drivers say being alone is a significant issue affecting their mental health. This blog on TNCRadio.live has been brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net.
It's Truckers Life Radio from TFC Global with your host, Ron Frazier. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Here we're helping drivers as they travel life's highway. I love that. The spiritual side, drivers face a lot out on the road. Truckers Life Radio digs in on the spiritual and moral questions that drivers face on a daily basis. You don't want to miss it. Every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Welcome back in, TNCRadio.live. This is Keep On Talking Live. And here's your host, Tom Kirk.
Hey, thank you very much, Tom. We're back here at the Counter of Knowledge as we share some of our stories about winter driving, tips and tricks, and been having kind of a good time tonight. We just got joined by Catwoman here a minute ago, but we're going to come back to Granny real quick. She's got to go out to work. She's up there in North Dakota tonight, and it's got to go through some bad weather. They got about 16 inches yesterday and about 8 more tonight. So, Granny, you definitely be safe as you're doing your driving to and from work today. What is it you want to kind of close us up with there before you have to run?
My thing with the CB is being one of the old school drivers, I get frustrated because I think it was Jerry had mentioned not knowing about what was ahead of him. And I think that is more of the me generation, I call it. The younger drivers who don't care about the other guy. They don't care if there's a wreck right around the corner or a cop in a speed trap. And that's frustrating for us older drivers because we are used to that mutual respect out here and taking care of each other and always looking out for the next guy. You know, you see somebody struggle to back in, for example, and they, instead of getting out and helping, they're filming it, hoping he hits something, and they can get famous on YouTube. That's, for me, the frustrating part with the CB. If they have it, they don't have enough respect or decency to warn the next guy. And that's my issue with the CB right now in this day and age, is that me generation.
And I think that's a very valid point. It is, you know, there are people like that, or there are people who are so focused on other forms of technology. And, you know, there are some apps out there that you don't necessarily have to look at them because they can talk to you. I know PA with their PA 511 app will talk to you and tell you about the road problems. The problem is it can tell you about every road problem around you, including the road shutdown on Old Scudder's Mill Road. I was using it one night.
And the accident that happened.
And I quickly turned it off, when I got parked, because I realized it was going to tell me everything, whether it was on my route or not. And it was more of an annoying and a hindrance. Hey, Catwoman, we're going to bring you on here real quick. What is, how this topic
I'm going to say goodbye, guys. I'm going to say goodbye.
Right.
Thanks for having me. I'm going to run and go play in the snow.
All right. Bye, Granny.
Be safe, everybody. Bye.
So, Hey, Catwoman. So we're going to come to you. What we've been kind of talking, how this whole conversation got started tonight was I heard a driver talking about when he would pull over, when the truck started getting squirrely, the trailer started getting squirrely, that's when he thought was a good time to pull over. And what started this whole thing tonight is, when do you think's the right time to pull over? And then we've gotten into some other topics as well. So let's start off with that. You and Road Dog teaming over the years. When is it you decide to get pulled over, or is it a case where maybe one of you pulls over and says, oh, no, I can do this, and maybe the other person starts driving? How do you handle it both as a team, and when do you decide when to stop and pull over for a while?
Well, we usually left it to each other on that decision, but obviously if the weather was bad, I was up watching the roads anyway ahead of time. But definitely when you watch the trailer, I mean, if you drove long enough, you're training, you feel, you do see it acting up, but I usually always try to trust my gut feeling. I know what I could do and not do in the snow and the ice. But you definitely have to trust your feelings on that. You can't go out there saying, "Oh, I'm Superman or woman, and I'm going to go," no matter what Mother Nature throws at me. That's not how that works. You need to respect that snow and that road and that ice, and not to mention yourself. But if I could touch real quick, I don't know if you did or not. I know that you touched on about other drivers, badgering you or telling you to get going. What are you sitting there for? What kind of driver are you? I don't know if you touched about employers doing that to a driver.
No, we didn't. And why don't you bring that up? Because that's a real good point.
Yes, because we were driving for another LTL company, not the one that he's at now. But, it looks like an elephant. And but anyways, they just started running. They start running their trailers out west. That's when they first started running west, and because they merged with the company out there. And it was, I think, a second or third run out there. We'd already been seasoned with pups and everything through the winter. But it was out Salt Lake City. Wyoming. It was Wyoming, and we were out there at night driving mine. Obviously, snow, ice, on the roads. Everything was going okay. I didn't mind night driving, but then I just started feeling uneasy. It just started, coming down a lot heavier, and then the ice was up underneath there. And I seen, well, I'll go a little bit more, and then I think I'm going to look for a rest area. I'm going to be done. I'm going to wait till morning. And I started to pull off, and there were trucks flying by me, of course. Oh, what are you pulling in there for, you sissy? And get those wiggle wagons going on the road. Well, when that second one behind you starts getting a little bit squirrely, which it did a little bit, I know what I could handle and not handle on it. And I just thought with the winds going down a road that I wasn't familiar with on that road to start with was another reason. Going out that first route, going west, we went the southern route before, that was more northern. And I pulled off in a rest area. Of course, you hear all the CB hollering and screaming and everything. So I sat there for a little bit, and I sat there and said, well, I'll just see how I feel a little bit and see what it looks like. And I told them I'm going to shut down. I called the company and told them that, I'm parked. It's just not comfortable. I don't want to have any accidents or anything like that. So the dispatcher said, well, we just had 4 or 5 drivers, call us from that road, and they're just doing just fine. You need to get back up in that seat and get going again. I said, no disrespect, but no, sir, I'm not. I said, I'm comfortable where I'm at right now, and I'm just going to wait and hold out and see how that is. And he kept badgering me more or less and saying, well, you got to get going. We need that out here. We need this. I said, it's not worth anyone's life over that. And, he says, well, like I said, the drivers came out. I said, well, I tell you, sir, if those drivers are so good at doing this, send them back to get my set of pups.
Yeah.
And then they can make that trip. Because I will sit here in a tractor, and he could take the trailers. And I stepped on the radio, and sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, there is a lot of truth to that, they're there and they're saying this. And over the years when I was working on a mega fleet, I had 2 similar situations. One of them was a case where, he was saying, why aren't you doing this? Well, when safety found out what he had said to me, because he put it on the Qualcomm, let's just say that he was about a good 2 feet shorter because they cut him off at the knees.
Richmond didn't like what was told to me either.
Oh, yeah.
When I called them the next day. Because there was an accident. 2 people died that night.
Oh, yeah.
So about 10 minutes after I talked to him, I wrote Road Dog up, and I told him, I said, I'm sitting here, and I said, do you believe what this guy just told me? And we're listening to the CB radio. The next thing I started seeing all the trucks started slowing down, and then finally the messages kept coming across. 4 or 5 trucks were tangled up down at the bottom of that hill there. Yeah. And we found out 2 people died.
And that's a tragedy because incidents like that, whether it's serious injury, minor accidents, or death, a lot of it can be avoided by driving. And, the thing is, we're fortunate nowadays. We got tools. We've got the CB radio. We have, friends at home who may be retired or partially retired, who can look up weather for us and call us and give us information. Spouses who can do that. All these tools that are available for us. We can pull over to rest areas and check all these apps and cameras and know what we're getting into as drivers that we didn't have 15 years ago. But at the end of the day, technology doesn't replace experience. It doesn't replace your judgment, and it doesn't replace the CB. You're talking to drivers who are in that area who can give you some tips and tricks. But most importantly, it comes down to your experience and your gut. But we've got to wrap things up. Flo's telling me we got to get out of the cafe and turn things over to Larry and Angie. They're coming up next here. With taillights, and they've got a great guest with Pastor Mark Hewitt. They're going to be telling some stories and sharing some things there. Then after that is going to be Anderson and Banker with Clutch Time Sports, the only radio show on sports that is built around you, the truck driver. So we're going to be having a lot of fun here on TNC Radio tonight. Lots of more great programming coming up. We're going to be taking a break the next couple of weeks, but we'll be back here at the Counter of Knowledge in January on the 4th. Hope to see you here. Have a great show lined up about trucking New Year's resolutions. So stay tuned for more great programming here on TNCRadio.live. Keep your ears on and stay safe out there, everyone.